This is the proposed Mall of Asia to EDSA Taft aerial cable car line. This is Part C, part of a series of videos that will be devoted to this line. Comparison between monorail and ART. This is a comparative table of the features of monorail and ART. As to system capacity and travel time, both monorail and ART are equal. As to operation during windy weather, travel speed, air conditioning, and ease of rescue, monorail has the advantages over ART. These are some explanations of two features where monorail and ART have the same performance. These are some explanations of four features where monorail has an advantage over ART. More detailed explanations are covered in other chapter videos. In the 29 following features, ART has an advantage over monorail. These are travel distance, waiting time for a ride, construction time, construction cost, depot-related costs, operational costs, maintenance costs, right-of-way requirements and costs, cost of ticket fares, daily ridership, profitability to investors, safety, security, chances of breakdown, views, negative visual effects, touristic potential, alignment options, passenger companion options, chances of being seated, cabin or train overcrowding, PWD access, passenger assistance at stations, noise during ride, shakiness during ride, ability to allow bikes on board, ability to be used as cargo transport, connectivity with other modes of transport, and expandability. More detailed explanations of the 29 features of which ART has an advantage over rail-based mass transportation are covered in other chapter videos. There are many supporters of monorail. There is a monorail society that promotes the understanding and application of monorails. It provides a database about installations and news on monorail technology. These are the advantages of monorails published by the American Monorail Project on its website. There is an enormous amount of information about ART and monorails on the internet. By availing of these resources and information, the viewers will be able to appreciate and judge more the pros and cons of both a monorail and an ART. The corridors that are proposed for MOA and its vicinity are medium-demand transit corridors. Thus, the three types of mass transportation systems that may be suitable for this corridor are medium-capacity systems such as ART, monorail, and BRT. Mass transportation engineering consultants can make this determination on their feasibility. A feasibility study is needed to determine which of the three options is best for the desired area to be served. The transportation engineering consultants will take the lead in determining the engineering analysis and design. There will be inputs from the ART monorail or BRT manufacturers. There will also be input from the one who will provide the financing for the project. It is possible that an ART and BRT were not considered in the choice of a monorail from MOA to EDSA Taft by the Memorandum of Agreement parties. The parties are City of Pasay, DOTR, and SM. If it was not, then it may be worthwhile to consider ART and BRT as an addendum to the study. It may come out that ART is more economically viable than a monorail or BRT. Traffic count. A very simplified traffic count was conducted at this corner in Rojas Boulevard and EDSA. The traffic count was conducted to roughly estimate the number of jeepneys that currently service the route between MOA and EDSA Taft. Two traffic counting teams were positioned on the corner. One team was positioned on the south corner, represented by this green stickman. Another team was positioned on the north corner, represented by this yellow stickman. The traffic count will determine whether the passenger demand can be met by an ART system. The latest model, monocable type ART, is recommended for the MOA EDSA Taft route. The capacity of each cabin is 10 passengers. The system capacity is 4,500 passengers per hour per direction or pph/pd. This is equivalent to 225 jeepneys per hour per direction. If you are waiting at a jeepney stop, this ART capacity will be equivalent to 4 jeepneys that will drop by the jeepney stop every minute. Or this will be equivalent to 1 jeepney that will drop by the jeepney stop every 16 seconds. What was shown previously was only for one direction per hour. This capacity is applicable for the travel from MOA to EDSA Taft at a distance of 1.9 kilometers. Simultaneously, ART transports the equivalent of 225 jeepneys in the opposite direction from EDSA Taft to MOA. A jeepney can only make one round trip per hour between MOA and EDSA Taft. The following reasons are: 1. Heavy traffic between MOA and EDSA Taft. 2. A jeepney has to deboard and board passengers several times at multiple jeepney stops per round trip. 3. Traffic lights at multiple intersections. 4. Waiting time for a jeepney to be full of passengers at an end station before it travels. To match the ART capacity of 4,500 pph/pd, there needs to be 225 jeepneys that will be circulated around a loop between MOA and EDSA Taft. This will require 225 internal combustion engines as compared to only one electric motor for an ART to circulate 150 cabins around the same loop. An ART will significantly reduce traffic, noise pollution, and air pollution along this route. This is the result of the traffic count in 2 opposite directions. The traffic count was taken on a Friday, which is usually the busiest day of the week. This table is the result of the EDSA Taft to MOA traffic count, while this table is the result of the MOA to EDSA Taft traffic count. The maximum traffic count from both tables is 232 jeepneys on a Friday between 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. from EDSA Taft to MOA. For purposes of imagining what will happen in an ART when its passenger traffic is more than its capacity, we assume that all jeepneys will not be allowed to run between MOA and EDSA Taft. Furthermore, we assume that all these passengers will instead ride the ART. At 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., the ART can no longer carry all the passengers wanting to travel at this time. The capacity of the ART is only 225, while the demand is 232. In such a situation, there will be a line of passengers waiting for a ride. This would be similar to the long lines waiting for an LRT ride in Metro Manila. Some passengers will not be able to ride during this 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. period. But those that cannot do so will be able to ride several minutes later between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. when it is no longer peak hour. Incidentally, this rarely happens in the La Paz ART, as shown in pictures and YouTube videos. Long lines in La Paz happen only when there is an important football game or when there is a public transport strike. Almost all the passengers that will ride the bus or UV Express that will pass by the location of the traffic count are not passengers between MOA and EDSA Taft. They are long-distance passengers to and from all over Metro Manila. Most of the jeepney passengers between MOA and EDSA Taft are those commuting between MOA and EDSA Taft. Almost all of them will take jeepneys. It is cheaper and has shorter waiting time compared to a bus or UV Express. Having higher frequency of trips, it is more readily available. Boarding and deboarding is also faster and more convenient. Thus, it is safe to assume that the ART will not capture bus and UV Express passengers recorded in the traffic count. As previously shown, the traffic count was made at this intersection. All vehicles that pass this intersection do not originate or end between MOA and EDSA Taft alone. Many originate and end at major intersections beyond MOA and EDSA Taft. As an example, we will use the EDSA Taft to MOA route where our maximum traffic count of 232 jeepneys is located. From this Taft intersection, there are 3 possible jeepney routes that proceed to MOA. At this Rojas intersection, there are 2 possible jeepney routes that will be added. At this Macapagal intersection, there are 2 possible directions that jeepneys could split. And at this intersection, it could split again into 3 directions. Furthermore, should there be a MOA EDSA Taft ART line, not all passengers intending to travel between MOA and EDSA Taft will take the ART. For example, not all passengers intending to travel along the Baclaran Monumento line will take the LRT. Some will take the modernized jeepneys. It is cheaper and there are more jeepney stops. Similarly, assuming that the MOA ART line will look like this ART in Turkey, not all the passengers will take the ART. Some will take the modernized jeepneys. It will be cheaper and there are more jeepney stops. There is a more accurate method to determine the ART ridership between MOA and EDSA Taft. It is known as Origin Destination Survey. The survey will consider all factors, including the willingness of passengers to pay higher fares of the ART. But this is an expensive task and takes longer to implement. This OD survey will be done during the feasibility study, which will surely be conducted for this project. For purposes of this chapter video, we will estimate the reduction to 70% of the recorded traffic count. This is the recorded jeepney count between EDSA Taft and MOA. This is the adjusted jeepney count reduced to 70% of the recorded traffic count. This is the ART capacity in equivalent jeepney units. The capacity of the recommended latest model of ART is much higher than the passenger demand at all times. This is including its peak demand of 162 jeepney trips from EDSA Taft to MOA between 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. on a weekday. The maximum capacity number of ART cabins for the MOA to EDSA Taft route is estimated to be 150 cabins. This will match the capacity of 225 jeepney trips per hour per direction. But since the peak ridership when the ART will be installed is only 162 jeepney trips per hour, the ART investor may initially purchase only 107 cabins. The remaining cabins may be purchased at a later date when the passenger demand increases.